Hey, my friends, thanks so much for watching and for listening. This show is about exploring specific, fact claims, truth claims out there, and also examining the culture. I just became introduced a couple of months ago to ASMR. Of course, my first question was, hey, what's that? ASMR, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. This is like a non-clinical term, non-scientific term. It's just what someone called it. Her name is Jennifer Allen. She came up with the name back in 2010, and she's been involved in making ASMR popular. If you don't know what ASMR is, I'm still sort of learning myself. I wanted to have a conversation with someone who could speak to it, and everybody was like, Seth, you got to talk to Heath Enwright from God Awful Movies. And I said, okay. So Heath joins me on the show. Heath, how you doing, man?
Hello, Seth. Seth Andrews.
Now, I don't have video from Heath, so I'm putting a photograph up. I just grabbed the first one I found. I think it's flattering. I don't know. You got a headset on. You look relatively happy.
Picture me with mundane objects.
Come on. Why is everybody throwing your name at me with this? Are you a critic of it, or do you like it? What?
No, I'm a fan of it. I definitely experienced the ASMR response, or whatever you want to call it. Apparently some people don't. I guess it's a small percentage of the population that actually gets the tingle from it and that sort of thing. So I very much enjoy it. I was introduced to it for the first time during an episode of Citation Needed, actually. We do a show, I don't know if anybody's heard of it. Check it out, Citation Needed. And we do a random topic every week. And I was doing kind of an essay about the porn habits of the United States and the world. And I found out that in 2018, there was a very big new trend called ASMR. I think actually it was started in 2016, 2017 to be like a really big deal. And so a little segment of that essay was about this ASMR thing, which can be both pornographic and non-pornographic. So it kind of fit into that essay tangentially.
Okay, well, for people who are joining us, though, right now going, what the hell are they talking about? What the hell are you talking about? In layman's terms, what is ASMR?
Okay, well, you already said it's the Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. I'm not clear on exactly how any of those letters apply, but is there a meridian involved? Like, does it go, is it acupuncture based? I have no idea.
I don't know either. No. Yeah.
Good deal of woo surrounding it, but the general idea is they're videos where somebody is very relaxingly either whispering or brushing up against objects or making pleasant noises that you wouldn't guess were necessarily pleasant noises, but they work for me. And the idea is they kind of relax you, and they can be a form of sort of like a meditation, a guided meditation in some sense. And a lot of people experience a very specific response where they get kind of a tingling sensation down the back of their head and their neck and into their back, and just general relaxation also.
And their loins. I mean, come on. There are some people who they become aroused with.
Yeah, some really weird people, not me, definitely are aroused by it too.
So what kind of sounds? Give me some specifics.
The ones that I first saw were generally somebody doing a lot of whispery speech. That tended to be the major basis of it. Generally, they have a couple of microphones actually set up left and right, and they'll use that stereo idea so that if you're listening with headphones on, which is how everybody tends to recommend it, you get this kind of three-dimensional sound thing going. Besides the whispering voice, a lot of them were involved with picking up a random object and just kind of tapping it with fingernails or brushing it with a cosmetic brush. Brushing the microphone with a brush was big. The noise of kind of using one of those head massagers near the microphone so that you kind of picture yourself having a head massage and you get some of that feel. Yeah, it's all different angles at it. I've even seen a few that were kind of themed around a specific therapeutic use, like relieving a headache, or just getting a very calm doctor's exam or nurse's exam, that sort of thing as well.
Like you're going to the dentist, you're stressed out, you can kind of zen yourself out with a specific ASMR trigger is the word they like to use. By the way, the listener line's on the screen if anybody wants to dial in and sound off on this phenomenon. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you use it? Do you run far away from it? I have a few examples. Keith, I struggle with this. I struggle because I know how polarizing ASMR is.
Is it?
I put it out on my social media and it was like a parting of the seas. I saw
really?
People who were like, I love it. It's so relaxing. It soothes me. It tingles me. And other people are like, it's fingers on a chalkboard. I refuse to listen. And so here I am thinking, how do I play examples without driving half of my audience to hate me or unsubscribe?
Wow. It's kind of like the cilantro of audio appreciation. That's terrible. I feel so bad for the people who don't get the ASMR thing, but also the people who think cilantro tastes like soap. That's just tragic for both of those things.
Heath, you and I know how much work goes into the broadcast that we put together. God Awful Movies does not just happen. You guys are doing a ton of prep work. You guys have all of this stuff that you do and all of the other activism that you do. Anything that we upload, usually it takes a lot of time and care and prep. We want to make sure we're good stewards of the audience. And so I'll upload something. One of my speeches gets 50, 100,000 views. The podcast might get, on YouTube anyway, might get 10, 12,000. Most of those are on Spreaker. So here I am busting ass to put together high quality premium content, right?
Sure.
And then all of a sudden there's somebody who all they're doing is they take there's no windscreen. I'll take the windscreen off my mic and they take the fingernails and they're like, or whatever they're doing.
Oh, don't mess with me, Seth.
For about, I don't know, an hour. And they have 1 million views. I'm in the wrong business, dude. I'm in the wrong line of work. I'm stunned by it. So,
yeah. To that point, I absolutely am frustrated by it. No question. I definitely enjoy the material, but yes, just, showing up in front of a microphone with a bowl and some masking tape and okay, go. Here we are.
Look, I would like 200,000 views, right? So I'll grab a piece of paper and okay, right? I mean, what the hell? I'm in the wrong line of work. I've decided. So.
To be perfectly clear, to whatever extent people can make money on this, and I think they can. There are some very successful ASM artists, they call themselves, and you would make a fortune with your milk chocolatey voice if you whispered it up a little bit. Oh, you could read the goddamn phone book, and I would tune in every episode.
I don't even know what I would do. Are they mostly just whispering? Do they say the same words over and over? Is it very subjective where everybody's just riffing their own interpretation of ASMR?
That seems to be it. I don't see anybody who seems to have a very specific script that they've memorized or that they're reading. But yeah, they do all different things, just objects and whispering and few other examples. Some people have mentioned that like watching Bob Ross do his very attentive painting can be an example of it. So I'll give him a little more credit. He wasn't doing it on purpose and he's doing some actual art there, but
yeah. All right. I pulled up a couple of videos. Well, I just, by the way, I'm talking to Heath Enwright of God Awful Movies. If you're joining the stream a little bit late, this is Matty Tingles. Now that is his actual YouTube moniker. Let me switch over here to the guest screen or to the display screen. Where is it?
Matty Tingles. That's a pretty good name. I mean,
okay.
Put a little effort into your pseudonym. Maybe make a pun. It's no big deal.
Tingles. Now this particular video is called "Relaxing ASMR Sounds for Sleep," and then there's 3 blue Z's by it, like you're going right to sleep. 156,000 views so far. Wow. Let me play a clip from Matty Tingles.
So that's what I stream with. So it looks really good. And then I know that there's some... I love screen tapping. a Sony G7X Mark II. So having both of them is a nice kind of a dual threat.
Maddie has the back of a DSLR camera, and he is tapping with his fingernails on the display screen. At one point, it looked like he was going to tap the lens. It was mildly terrifying. And I don't know how long he does that. The whole video is 27 minutes, 43 seconds. But he's just tapping on a piece of plastic with his fingernails, and I guess some people receive a pleasure response from this. This is the kind of thing we're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is an artist right there. That is a 2019 artist, Seth Andrews.
Let me go to the phones and see what our listeners have to say about some of this. Area code 918. Hey, that's my hometown. You're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hey, Seth, this is Jen. Yeah, I moved from Tulsa out to Nashville, and I listen to ASMR videos frequently, so I feel like I called in on a good one.
What kind do you like?
I feel like I have
what
some
do you
experience.
Select? Hang on just a second.
Honestly,
Hey, Heath, can you hear the caller through your feed?
I can. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Okay.
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So, the biggest thing that I look for in an ASMR video, it really boils down to 5 things. Is it interesting? Does it give me tingles? And does it do what it says it's going to do? Because otherwise, it's not worth it. So if I get about 5 minutes into it and I'm not getting that tingly, scratchy feeling that's really hard to describe, then I'm like, okay, nope, next. And you do have to kind of go through videos to figure out what triggers it for you.
So you experiment a little bit, right? This works for me. This doesn't. How do you use it? You go to sleep with it?
So I used to get really bad migraines. And I found out that when my ASMR is triggered, I don't get migraines.
No shit.
So it's a natural way for my brain to treat myself so that I don't have to take any kind of medication for it.
Heath, have you ever used ASMR for your headaches, sinus trouble, knee pain, joint pain, allergies? I mean,
actually, I have. Today, actually, I had an interesting moment. I used ASMR to calm myself down. So I was making lunch in the kitchen, and I decided today, for the first time in my life, for no reason, you know what? I'm going to swing my head wildly right next to the sharp edge of this cabinet. I don't know why I decided to do this. For science. So, yeah, slammed my forehead, and immediately I started yelling obscenities at my cabinet and at life and at four-dimensional space-time in general. I was furious. It's one of those, you stub your toe, you just want to kick something, but you shouldn't. But then I remembered, it was on my mind. I knew I was recording about ASMR today. So I turned on some ASMR, and there was actually an ASM artist named Ting Ting ASMR. I believe she's a Chinese American who lives in California, and she did a video about how she's kind of curing your headache as if a nurse might cure your headache with a handful of woo. She's using some crystals and some rocks and stuff, but it calmed me right down, and I didn't, headbutt through my cabinet. So that was good.
You realize already I can see the comment section. They're going to come after us because they're like, the science is not in on this. This is hugely subjective. This very much falls into the it worked for me thing, right?
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, they are trying to do some research into ASMR in the science community. The problem is it is so highly subjective. So what works for one person to cause tingles may not work for another person. And so is finding that thing that tingles you and getting it to react in a predictive manner is really difficult to do.
Well, thanks for sharing your perspective. I'm glad it works for you. I'm glad you're not having headaches. You doing okay these days?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I just got a different kind of headache. But anyway, thanks for letting me
Yeah.
have a good one.
Who is he?
Unemployment.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know any of the details. Jen, you're awesome. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
Jen,
Bye.
Thanks, Jen.
Look, this is totally off topic for just a second, but since I release a lot of this stuff to YouTube, we're talking about YouTubers. As I was going through the ASMR, I noticed the same fucking ads that are running on my channel from Pure Flix. Are you guys at God Awful Movies dealing with this?
I've noticed every so often we'll get a message from somebody saying, hey, the pre-roll ad was for, Azusa Pacific Christian University. And just so you know, well, I'm not going to put any money into that university. And I'm saying to myself, yeah, all right, we'll get in touch with our server and Audio Boom or whatever. We'll tell, hey, don't do Christian universities that are nonsense at the beginning of our thing. But that being said, I kind of like the idea that Azusa Pacific is wasting their money on listeners of God Awful Movies.
Yeah, I mean, for YouTube, it's just a Google algorithm, right? I mean, I'm sure there's religion, which is one of my keywords, God, Christianity, Bible, any of that stuff. Or maybe PureFlix is actually under the delusion that their films would be convincing to an atheist target demographic, and so they're purposefully running on. And part of me is like, this is insane. They make me crazy. At the same time, I think I love the idea that they are paying a few cents every time that sucker runs to an activist dedicated on seeing them exposed as absolutely ridiculous and bogus. So I'm at two minds. I go back and forth on it. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, it's a kind of a double-edged sword there, no question.
I've got another video. Let's try this. Let me go to my display screen, if I may. This is Ozley, Ozley ASMR, guided meditation whispered. Listen and be tingled.
And the scalp. So we hold a lot of tension, especially in our forehead and our scalp sometimes. So check in with yourself. Alright, yes, I feel some tension in the scalp now. Just try to massage it out a little bit. I'll massage it out for you. Good, okay. And same thing. This time when you exhale, just visualize your whole face relaxing.
She was massaging her temples, and she's sort of putting her hands up near the camera. The camera's on autofocus, so the camera will focus on her hands, and then it will autofocus on her face, and then back to her hands. I don't know if she wants that or if she just doesn't give a shit, because it's all about the auditory experience. In the chat room, I'm curious to see what everybody thinks. Oh my word, it's The Exorcist. I find that annoying. Someone else said, close your eyes and start praying. I feel rage.
Interesting. Rage, really?
I mean, I'm just saying. Wow. Let's go back to the switchboard real fast, see who else we got. Area code 786. You're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Seth, this is Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic. You had to get me to call into this one. I had something else to do today, to be honest. And, oh, man.
It's a party. Genetically Modified Skeptic, by the way, if you're not subscribed to Drew on YouTube and elsewhere, you're missing out. He's good people. He produces great content. Thanks for being a part of it, my friend. Give us your wisdom. What do you think?
All right. Well, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the name. So the meridian is something that people do wonder about. And as someone who enjoys ASMR occasionally, yes, I'll admit it, that's my kink. I've done some digging into what this means, and now I'm trying to come up with the most concrete source I can for this. But the story that I've heard behind the naming of this phenomenon was, of course, it's non-scientific, but the lay people who named this thought that meridian somehow was a softer word for orgasm.
Yeah, I call that a meridian all the time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. So basically, it's just talking about an orgasm in your head. Now, several years later, I'm sure there are plenty of people doing this digging and finding out that the people who named this didn't really know what the fuck they were talking about exactly.
I'm with Heath. I'm like meridian orgasm. These are two terms that they don't even exist in the same, like, lingual zip code. It's bizarre that they would connect those. Okay.
Right. It's a fun acronym, but it's the story behind ASMR goes back a very, very long way and to some very intimate forums. So I'm not surprised that this was kind of a community agreement based upon this misconception so long ago.
An intimate forum, indeed. How do you use ASMR yourself, Drew?
So there's a trend in ASMR, and basically the clickbait in ASMR is like, we'll put you to sleep in 20 minutes, right? And so it actually does help me relax. I work pretty late doing my own videos, and when things have all cooled down, I've been staring at a screen for hours and have not quite gotten away from the light that gives me a decent amount of sleep hygiene as doctors recommend. So laying there, not intending to go to sleep, but listening to some of these sounds. A lot of the time I actually like to listen to, I'm an educational content nut, so like reading science textbooks, and in like an ASMR kind of voice, or something that's not really guided meditation, but some sort of narrative there that I can kind of loosely follow to get my mind off of everything else. So it's really a sleep aid, and I've seen that as a pretty common use of ASMR.
So you are out there editing all day, all night, but if you just munched popcorn into your microphone, you'd have 1.7 million views right now. And would YouTube demonetize it automatically? Because, they demonetize most of the stuff that we produce anyway, because everything seems to be controversial. You guys going through that right now? Like YouTube just says, oh, you breathe oxygen. We find this too controversial for advertisers. Is that a problem?
I've been pretty lucky lately.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks very much.
I'll tell you what, Seth. So I'll release a video. I can't compromise my moral principles and what I'm dedicated to in my mission with my content, because I'm not just content producer, I'm an activist. So I'm going to produce something debunking ideas within Islam, but it's going to be in an ASMR format. So I'm going to be out here reading, the end of faith, but essentially saying, so in the Islamic State, women have fewer rights because of the Hadith and Quran verses, and going through all of that. We'll see how that works out. Maybe I'll get the hits without the monetization. Sure.
90-page paper book, 9,000-hour audiobook. That'll be a great, great project for you and the whole family.
Have fun with that. Read the Quran too. It's a blast. You'll have so much fun with that.
Drew, I appreciate you, my friend. Genetically Modified Skeptic. I'm serious. Go check out his channel on YouTube and elsewhere. You're on Twitter, and you'll find him. You'll find him. Drew, take care of yourself, brother. All right.
All right. Thank you, Seth.
All right. Take it easy. I mean, I don't make a lot of money on YouTube. It just pisses me off. Like, if we talk about anything relevant, you can kick somebody in the balls all day, cat videos, that's fine, all this other stuff. But if we get out there and we start talking about not even Islam, start talking about politics, religion, the blending of the two, we start talking about social issues on almost every flavor of social issue. And just like, I don't know if the algorithms kick in or there's how it's done. They just decide right off the bat that you have to go through this appeals process, bow to the altar and say, please monetize. And, probably 4 out of 10 times they'll reverse it, but it's still a pain in the ass.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do people have to listen to everything we all put out? Or I'm confused by that.
I think it's all automated. It's like when you upload a YouTube video that has music in it. immediately, if there's a recognized or copyrighted song, YouTube has a mechanism in place that finds it, knows what it is, who wrote it, who owns the rights to it. And then, you're told you either pull this or we're going to take some of your revenue or you're in violation. It depends on the copyright owner. And so, I mean, there's some very intelligent AI kind of stuff going on out there that it's not people, but the appeals process is people. And I just can't help but think it's somebody, somebody who doesn't give a shit or has no idea, doesn't speak, doesn't understand the American idiom, certainly. Maybe they're in another country and they just don't really get it. So if you talk about a controversial issue like the child molester, they'll be like, oh, they're talking child molesters. You're out, When in truth, you might be coming to the defense of children. They're not hearing the nuance in what you're speaking about. I don't know. Just one of those things. Oh, look, it's another video. This one is by the same creator. Her name is Osley ASMR. This one's called Personal Attention, Intense Layered Sounds, Whisper. Now, all I hear is saliva. That's all I hear. It's not even really a whisper. Saliva. It's interesting. You're hearing these sort of the little ticks of the consonants, and the vowels mostly disappear. It's an interesting, and I can't decide how I feel about it. Like, it doesn't drive me away, but is it soothing? I mean, I probably need to go to like an environment where I'm not, broadcasting live and put on a headset and actually listen to see is it soothing or is it not? I don't know. By the way, there is a listener line number on the screen if you have a comment or question about ASMR. You think it's bullshit. You think it's imagined. His therapy in his mind. It's hard to knock it if it actually works for you. This seems like it falls very much into the subjective preference category. It's like, does this music relax you or does it not? Do these colors make you feel good or do they stress you out? Do these patterns or does this environment, does this weather do this or that to you? It seems like mostly it's about personal preference. Like, do you like sushi or not, right? So
yeah, sure. It seems like it's not exactly quantified yet, but I did read a little bit that seemed to suggest it might be a real phenomenon that we just haven't put our finger on exactly yet. I was reading that Steven Novella actually did a little review of this a few years back, and he thinks it's a real phenomenon, at least based on a whole bunch of people independently describing a very similar set of responses to it. And he actually described it as a pleasurable seizure kind of, which I thought was fantastic. And, basically audio-induced orgasm or audio-induced meridian, whatever word you use for that.
From now on, when I hear the word meridian in any context, probably going to make that connection. There's an article in Psychology Today. Let me just read from this quickly. I'm not going to read the whole article. But yeah, I saw the Novella article. He, of course, writes for Science-Based Medicine and the Neurological Blog. He's one of the great professors at the Great Courses Plus. He's just a freaking genius as far as I'm concerned. And he's a great skeptic. He's a product of Yale, Yale Medical. He's a professor there. It's just awesome. This is from John Klein, Psychology Today, dated September 26th of last year. What is ASMR and why are people watching these videos? He begins by sort of talking about his own introduction, blah, blah, blah. What exactly is ASMR? The term itself coined by Jennifer Allen, a non-scientist looking to create an official-sounding name for a sensory phenomenon that was beginning to appear in online videos and discussions, but which at the end of the last decade still had no name. There are different ways of defining and understanding it. The letters describe the experience of tingling sensations in the crown of the head in response to a range of audiovisual triggers such as whispering, tapping, and hand movements. The Wikipedia entry on ASMR defines it as a term used for an experience characterized by a static-like or tingling sensation on the skin that typically begins on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck and upper spine. I don't know. I mean, I guess I did feel is it like goosebumps, Heath? Is that an oversimplistic way of looking at it?
I think that's part of it for a lot of people. That's what it sounds like. I was about to ask you, do you get this response? You're saying at least a little bit you do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a positive response, but
you get something.
When I hear those little sounds, I do find occasionally that, I do get the hair standing up on my arms kind of thing just a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but how do I feel about it? Like when I play this next clip for you, this is from Gentle Whispering ASMR. By the way, this video has 17.7 million views. Okay. And all she does, I mean, I'm not trying to minimize her gifts and talents as an ASMR therapist. I'm saying 17 million, and I'm busting ass to get 12,000. I'm not bitter about it. Let me play a clip from the Gentle Whispering ASMR.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Today I decided to just have some one-on-one time with you. So no rules, no games. Just pamper time. I'm going to relax you. I'm going to use some of the very relaxing techniques, relaxing movements, sounds, relaxing words that I hope you'll enjoy. First, we'll start with some nice, gentle, hypnotizing hand movements that hopefully make you feel a little bit sleepy.
Now she's drifting back and forth physically around the mic. It's obviously a left or right separated stereo microphone. Either you're right, it's a single or it's a double. I'm guessing it's probably a Tascam that's got the mics that flip out to the left and right. But as she does this, she's moving her hands toward the screen and back, and she's kind of like casting a spell on me. I feel the magic or something coming through, and she's talking to me directly, right? She's like, you are going to be, look, you work hard, Seth. You know what I'm saying? You work hard, damn it. You give and you give, and this is your chance to be pampered. I can see how that would be attractive and appealing, right?
Sure.
Personal attention. It's called soft-spoken personal attention. I can get it for free on YouTube. That just sounds like pretty good.
Exactly.
I don't know.
I do feel a little insane afterwards sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. It's so nice. I'll put on ASMR and I'll have this, 15 minutes of just, I'm getting more and more relaxed. And then I'll turn it off and I feel insane. Like, I just spent 15 minutes of sk, 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 psst, psst, like that. But it works. I don't know. I like it.
That's
like
a thing? The way they just do the hard SK.
That seems to be part of the vocabulary for a lot of people. But even more so, I'll say the ones like you were just describing, where kind of the hands go out toward the screen and you get this sensation of maybe you're getting a scalp massage, or one I actually saw is a guy who does an ASMR version of giving you a haircut. So he's this very calm, attentive barber, which I found very pleasing also. Yeah.
I feel like when I'm sitting getting a haircut, I find myself totally zenned out and relaxed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, when they're doing, if they wash it first or after, it's dumb stuff like that. So maybe this is like an extension of that or a recreation of that. It's like getting a haircut every single day. This is deep. This is deep stuff, Heath. Before I let you go, my friend, how do people find you and your work? Because I want to make sure everybody knows about you and what you do, okay?
I appreciate it. If you want to listen to God-awful movies or The Scathing Atheist or The Skeptocrat or Citation Needed, check out any of those things. Just Google those things. You can find them on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else podcasts live is often what we say. And have a listen. And check out that porn episode. It's fun. We talk about a little bit about habits of porn.
Wait a minute. You guys did a porn movie?
Oh, no. Check out that episode of Citation Needed about the porn habits of the world. Oh. And we'll talk a little bit more about ASMR if you're interested. We kind of go through it briefly. That was actually my initial introduction to it.
Thanks for the clarification. Well, I just, I thought.
We do have a Kickstarter, though, if you would like to see some sort of pornographic episode with full video. We'll be putting up that Kickstarter as soon as possible.
Well, you guys, have covered a ton of Christian movies. You've done a ton of Pure Flix type stuff. We did Bible Man together. I was involved in that.
That was so much fun.
What are some of the other favorites of yours, just so people know what to look for when they listen to god-awful movies?
Oh, okay. So a few all-time favorites. We've done a bunch of David A.R. White movies and Kevin Sorbo movies. Specifically God's Not Dead and its 19 sequels. I forget how many there were now, but they keep coming out with those. And another one one of my all-time favorites. We did a movie called Leap, which was a Christian parkour-based movie. So Christian jump dance parkour experts somehow saved the world from Satan using their parkour skills. It's pretty delightful. It's pretty amazing.
They're so in tune with the culture, aren't they? I mean, really.
Yeah, they've got their finger on the pulse, no question.
I've also noticed that when Pure Flix releases their trailers, when I'm not screaming because they're using young children in the trailers, and they're crying, talking about the hopelessness that is life without their God. I find that it's a reunion. It's like a reunion of some of the most well-known actors from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? You mentioned Kevin Sorbo. I saw Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings and Stranger Things. Holy shit.
Rudy. Yep, Rudy. You got John Ratzenberger from Cheers was in a few that we did.
Who's
Harry
the guy
Anderson.
from Night Court?
Harry Anderson, you got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just died, didn't he, recently?
He did pass away recently, which was sad. But my impression of him had changed since seeing him go full Christian movie later in his career.
Lindsay Wagner, she was the Bionic Woman. Anybody remember Lee Majors, the Bionic Man?
Sure.
This is decades before many of my listeners were born. Dean Cain, who played Superman on television.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Morgan Fairchild, she was like the sex symbol of the 1970s and early 80s. And
absolutely.
I'm glad she's finding work.
Also, Chandler's mom in Friends in the 90s. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Ross hooked up with her at one point. It was a big deal in Friends. I don't know how big.
That's adultery. I don't think that flies in the Pure Flix model. The country singer Randy Travis was in one of the trailers. And I just thought, this is a potpourri, and I don't know anything about country music, but this is just a potpourri of look at the celebrities that we could afford or who are looking for work, or maybe they literally were like Kirk Cameron and had some kind of a conversion experience. John Corbett from Northern Exposure and Sex and the City. He was in Sex and the City.
Really?
Yeah, and now he's on Pure Flix. It's like full circle. You just go around, you visit the devil a little bit. You go have a summer home with the devil, but you always come back home to Jesus, and that's good to know.
It's like the Canadian Football League of movies. Yeah, that's sad. That's so sad.
Heath Enwright, God Awful Movies. I appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for talking to us. And,
it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I'll leave you with this. I may or may not have edited together a bunch of your old audio into a string of unrelated words that I now use for ASMR, and it might or might not be delightful. You might be sitting on millions of dollars. I'm just saying.
Have your people call my people. We'll get a royalty thing going on. Take care, Heath. We'll see you later, man.
Great talking with you. Take care.
All right. Wow. Oh, my goodness. I'm not really all that upset. I mean, YouTube has usually been a quantity over quality game, especially now. But, you know, I am curious if you were to take, I don't know, a half an hour and find whatever sound someone just said they fall asleep to my voice, which is a weird compliment. I receive it as a compliment. I really do. And I thank you for that. Because you are soothed, hopefully. Okay. Like I'm not boring you to sleep, but you are soothed. I'm hoping that's how you mean that. But someone said you should do an AS. I have no idea what that would even look like. You know, am I tapping on this, or am I, crinkling up paper? Am I chewing on some specific types of food that have certain textures? I don't think so. Am I uttering certain words? Am I whispering? I would need a stereo microphone. I think I would feel ridiculous. But I'll make you this promise. I'm actually going to go and, not today, but in the next couple of days, I'm going to go and put on a headset, and I'm going to find a video or scroll through a few videos and see. I mean, I'm going to experiment, right? I'm going to, in lab conditions, a lab of one subject with a subjective report, I will be experimenting to see what I think about ASMR. But it's an interesting thing if you're looking for a way to relax or de-stress or get to sleep a few minutes earlier or whatever. It might, if it works for you, in the way that, Mexican food works for some people's taste buds, and the way that certain vistas or colors relax people via the eyes, in a way that certain people in this world, in your presence, relax you or stress you out. This is obviously what I think is just a subjective preference kind of thing, but it's fun to talk about, and it's been fun talking about it with you. So thanks for being a part of the show. Thanks again to Heath Enwright of God Awful Movies, and I'll see you later.